I'd like to go.
Who are you?
My name is Justin Doyaga. But I like to talk to my siblings, so if my siblings can stand. All my siblings. You know, if you know us, you know we didn't love our grandma. We revered our grandma. And as the priest was talking at their gravesite, he said, you know, think of one thing that you'd want to teach your kids. And I want to remind you, I think of three things. The first of those is Dad did really well. He talked about working hard. And we've all done that. We're all very successful. And we learned that from Grandma and Dad. We learned that from you. So you know that. We know that. But the next two, I want you to remember, because I want you to teach your children this. The second was, it's important that your children know that you are Basque. And I want you, that was important to her. So if your children don't know where the Basque country is, if they don't know that they're Basque, please, I beg you, teach them. My children know. God, they can't hear anything else from their grandfather. That's all they hear is that they're Basque. But that was very important to her. But the third thing, and I haven't heard that mentioned, was that it's important that we stick together as a family. Every Christmas, every meal, every holiday, we had all of us at Grandma's house. So as we live, Matthew and I in Ohio, Christopher, you in Florida, and David and Liz in New York, let's make sure that we get together and that our children know that they need to work hard, that they're Basque, and most important of all, family is the most important thing. So to my siblings, I ask you to take a glass of wine, and I want to do a special touch just us. So for my siblings and brothers, let's remember that there was no other like our grandmother. Amen.
Well said.
I'd like to say something too.
Who are you?
I am her youngest grandson.
That's right, recognize you.
And so by the time I came around,
What is your name?
Matthew, she was a lot less pit bull than the descriptions here. But just slightly, but much less. And for some reason, I hadn't thought of the story in 100 years, but when I found out that she had passed, this was the first story that came into my head. She came over one time, and it was just me and her because, of course, she came over to drill me in studying for Spanish testing. I was about 11 or 12. The grades didn't even count for college yet. It was meaningless. It wasn't a final or a midterm. It just was a test that was passed on to her from my mom that said, he needs to get drilled in Spanish. So she comes by herself. And so she comes over, I say, Grandma, can I get you anything? And I don't know why this is funny to me thinking back on it, but she goes, will you make me a cup of coffee? As an 11-year-old, I have never made a cup of coffee. I never drank a cup of coffee. I picture like going to Justin's house and saying, Benjamin, boil some water, get the drip. But I had watched my mom make it 1,000 times every morning, and so I get her red drip thing. I actually make her a cup of coffee, and she sits, and she drinks it as we study Spanish. So I'm feeling real adult. She's done. I come up with an excuse to take a break again. Wouldn't have happened back in the day, but a lot less pit bull. She actually allows me to take the break. So I decide I'm going to start the dishwasher because I'm killing it right now. I just made a cup. So I grab the soap and I put it in. All of a sudden, 20 minutes later, I start to notice there are bubbles everywhere. I had used the dish soap. I had used the dish soap in the dishwasher. And she gives me a look like, you got yourself into this predicament. She didn't help me clean it up. Fix it. I'm throwing them in the sink.
I didn't know this story.
But what's funny to me looking back is, number one, that is so quintessential Grandma because she challenged me to do something I didn't think I could do or had never done, even if it was small. That was her. You could do it. What? It doesn't matter you're 11. Make a cup of coffee. And at the same time, thinking as an adult, driving from Brooklyn to Long Island to help your grandson study for a meaningless study test, it sounds like the worst.
Who wants to do that as an adult? Right?
She did, because you weren't going to fail.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You would be
And-
tutoring Matthew Jr.
Right. The dedication, even in her late 70s, to instill in every one of her ancestors or lineages that work ethic and that drive and that desire to be perfect. That was her, and so I thought that story was perfect, Grandma. So thank you.
Thank
I'd like to say something.
you. And who are
Excuse
you?
me if I lose my voice. It has been known to happen. But I'm Anna. I'm a cousin. And this has these two stories have absolutely nothing to do with work ethic, nor Emily's penchant for making sure that you did what you had to do, because I grew up with her as well. All right? In my day, she considered me just like a daughter because she didn't have one. All right, she and my mother were very close. They were first cousins. So, but these two stories, one is a red wine story, and another one is the four cousin story. So I'll do the wine story first. Now, Emily and I are at a meeting at NABO, which is an umbrella group of the bass clubs in the United States. And they hold meetings 3 times a year. So we're out in, don't remember what state, in Nevada, California, Idaho, could be anywhere in the western states. Now the meeting goes on all day, and then we party later. You always take care of business first, and you party. So we break for lunch. Now at lunch, you're at a table with the other delegates, so there's 6, 10 people at a table, and they always have like a buffet or whatever they're serving, and there are bottles of wine on the table. Okay, so everybody at our table eats their meal, and Emily and I were just chit-chatting, waiting for the break to be over so we can continue with the meeting, and everybody else vacates the table. Now, between Emily and I, right in front of us, is this unopened bottle of red wine. Now, of the other bottles on the table had already been opened and drunk. Very good wine, by the way. So, and all of a sudden, I see this hand going toward the bottle of wine. And the hand picks up the bottle of wine and goes like this and goes into her purse. Okay? Now, it's unopened, so this is supposed to be cool, right? So I said, Emily, what are you doing? This is the wine that, was for lunch, She says, no, this is for us. I said, wait a minute, run that by me again? I said, no, this was supposed to be, for the lunch. And I said, so what are you doing putting it in your purse? No, this is for us. All right? So I'm taking it. I said, okay, I'm not going to argue because that's useless. Totally. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's not a bad idea because after we get through with the meeting and whatever we have this evening, maybe we can have a nice nightcap. So maybe it's not such a bad deal. Okay, turns out, ultimately, the bottle was never opened, but the maid got a wonderful additional tip.
I object. I don't believe the story.
She was the maid.
You think the next day, no, when we were leaving, and I said, well, what are you going to do with the bottle of wine? We can't take it with us, back to New York. She says, no, I'm going to leave that, for the maid. I said, okay. So underneath, she puts the tip, puts the wine bottle on top, and that was it. So that maid, all right, not only got money, but she got something to party with. All right, now, my second story has to do with the 4 cousins in their younger days. And the 4 girls, because at that time they were girls, they were all working, and they all worked early in life, like 16, because Emily worked while she was still in high school. She had part-time jobs. All right. My mother, Delphine, well, all 4 of them ended up working. that work ethic. All right, so they're on the subway. And it's a little bit crowded, and the four girls are in the middle holding onto the pole, and they're talking to each other in Basque. All right, and whatever it is that they would talk about. And one of them turns around and sees that there's this gentleman sitting, and in Basque says, well, if Big Nose were to get up and leave, one of us could sit down, and then we can take turns, sitting down until we get to where we're going. And then they continue with whatever conversation they were having, okay? So ultimately, the fellow that they were talking about gets up and says, in Basque. Oh, no! In Basque. Big Nose is now getting off the train. You can have the seat. Right?
What a universal language.
Now, the four girls, the cousins, are now all together. So I have no idea, but I can just imagine what havoc and mischief they are wreaking up there together.
My speech now, if you want to eat.